It's time for Lefties Losing It, and sadly it's abundantly clear that the deplorable left has hit rock bottom and started digging. These soulless ghouls are now using the deaths of more than 100 Texans, using the deaths of young girls in a freak flash flood to, you guessed it, attack Donald Trump. And they're willing to lie to do it. It's reprehensible, it's contemptible, and it's sadly all too predictable. Here is Rosie O'Donnell.
The Guadalupe River, 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law. As Republicans cheered, people will die as a result, and they've started already. Shame on him. Shame on every GOP sycophant who's listening and following the disastrous decisions of this mentally incapacitated POTUS.
No, shame on you, you broken, sick fiend, using the deaths of innocent young children in a natural disaster to go after Trump. It's a new low for Rosie, and that's saying something, because she's stooped pretty low in the past. This verifiable lie that the National Weather Service was understaffed due to staff cuts is utter baloney. Indeed, the local office in Texas was overstaffed at the time. It did issue multiple warnings, but tragically it wasn't enough. But Rosie's not alone. There are sadly quite a few on the left trying to weaponise this tragedy to attack Donald Trump. And there are even some celebrating this catastrophic loss of life, including the loss of children's lives, young girls on a camping holiday. And why? Because Texas is a red state and the victims are mainly white. Here is a former appointee to a Houston City Board, appointed by the Democratic Mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. Here is Sade Perkins being a contemptible, racist scrote.
Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all-white, white-only, conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter. Before y'all come at me, before y'all start leaving hate comments on my page about, oh, these are just kids and they don't know no better, the parents of these children who are choosing, and it is a choice in 2025, it is definitely a freaking choice to go into East goddamn Texas and to make a all-white enclave.
Of course, she's lying. This is not a whites-only camp, but she feels emboldened to post that callous trash because there's been very little accountability for race baiters in the US in recent years, well, until very recently. This character then went on to compare these young girls dying in a flash flood to illegal immigrants being deported.
They want you to have sympathy for these people. They want you to get out of your bed and to come out of your home and to go find these people and to donate your money to go find these people. Meanwhile, they are deporting your family members. Meanwhile, they're setting up concentration camps and prisons for your family members. And I need y'all to keep that in mind before y'all get out there and put on your rain boots and go find these little girls.
Honestly, I'm lost for words. How anybody could be that awful is, well, almost beyond belief. There are still little girls lost. There are still bodies that have not been identified. And that's the message from a Democrat-appointed Houston City Board member. And she was in that position up until this year. Now, do you think she reconsidered her comments after further thought? No. She doubled down, and now she's playing the victim.
I don't understand all this, extraordinary hate or whatever. Like, I get that white people are not used to people telling them and calling them out on their racism and telling them about their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children and how there's children in ICE detention right now who y'all don't give two about. There's no prayers going up for them. But we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls. Again, I actually have empathy, so I can put myself in other people's shoes and understand that that's pretty up, but it seems like y'all don't get that. Y'all don't get that. Y'all don't have the empathy gene, for sure.
Yes, you're the one with empathy. I mean, really. She thinks she's got the empathy gene. And here's another soulless ghoul saying she's okay with little girls dying because she voted the right way. She voted for the Democrats.
Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a And I said no. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for the what? CARE. I said what the I said. I don't give a and minds are here with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with being stripped away from their families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again.
And here is another lowlife saying that if these Texans voted for Kamala, then the kids would be alive.
It's a hard pill to swallow, huh? The fact that if you would have just voted for Kamala, that those kids in Texas and all those families in the RVs would more than likely still be alive. But instead you just made fun of her laugh while people were screaming at you that if he was voted in, people were going to die. And look where we are. A bunch of parents who can't protect their own kids.
Parents who can't protect their own kids. She actually said that. How can you adequately describe such ugliness, such utter depravity? And talking about depravity, it doesn't get much worse than this. Have a look at this post from a pediatrician in Houston, a woman trusted with the health of young children, who wrote this: "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for." Just disgusting stuff there. But Dr. Christina B. Probst won't be practicing in Houston anymore, not at the Houston Heights clinic she was at anymore. She's been fired. Now, she should be struck off as a doctor, if you ask me. She should check herself into a clinic, one with a padded room preferably. And if you want to know where this hate comes from, where this disinformation about the National Weather Service and the politicisation of a natural disaster come from, then look no further than the leftist media led by CNN.
The president's mega bill, which he just signed into law, makes cuts and even closes some weather research labs.
The Austin San Antonio office is missing a warning coordination meteorologist due to the Trump administration's buyouts.
And I'm going to have a lot more on that, the fake news narratives pushed by CNN, ABC, MSNBC and others tomorrow night. But let's now have a look at the inept mayor of LA, the hopelessly incompetent Karen Bass, trying to stop ICE agents doing their job.
My comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Wait and see.
Mayor Bass, Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
The head of customs.
Wow.
They'll be leaving soon, she said. And she also said there that she was talking to the Border Patrol chief. Guess what he told her? As reported by Bill Malugin, Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino had this to say: "I don't work for Karen Bass. Better get used to us now, because this is going to be normal very soon. We will go anywhere, anytime we want to in Los Angeles." Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Now, Kosha, we will get to the latest round of tariffs announced by the Trump administration and what Australia can expect shortly. But first, Democrat mayors like Karen Bass and some of the governors are talking tough, but what can they do to stop the deportation program?
Their power is diminishing. It's not gone, and they will fight this till the bitter end. We can be sure of that, but it is definitely diminishing because of 3 or 4 things that have now all come to bear, and they're all having a confluence. One is the executive orders that Trump issued. Day one, it's a national emergency, and he's focusing on the border, what he ran on and won on. 2 is the SCOTUS rulings, and especially the one that just came down that's limiting these activist judges from issuing nationwide injunctions. They have to curtail the scope of these orders to just the harmed plaintiff in that case. So that's helpful. 3rd is a big, beautiful bill. It hasn't been signed yet, but soon, which is expanding the funding for ICE. So now they are very well staffed to go in there against the likes of Karen Bass and others, and to physically, have enough capacity to do that. And then the 4th is actually legal offensive that the Trump administration is waging. They're suing LA and Karen Bass as well. I don't know where those cases will land, but that also is putting more offensive pressure on them. So I think they're feeling the heat in a way that they have not felt for 50 years. And the momentum is definitely on the side of ICE and Trump.
And it's the optics of this is just terrible, I think, for the Democrats to have the mayor trying to stop essentially law enforcement from doing its job when the Trump administration, whatever side of politics you fall on, it has a clear mandate to do precisely this. This isn't a surprise. They campaigned on this and they have a clear mandate to execute these policies.
It's been absolutely the issue that really put Trump into the political arena as successfully as it did. This is a signature issue along with trade. But they don't seem to have gotten the memo because before that, 20 years ago or so, the other side was still winning, where they were saying, it's heartless and let's not separate families and all that stuff. But things have gotten so bad and so outrageous when you have 30, 40, even 50 million by some accounts illegals in the country that public opinion has completely shifted in favor of this. But she's still behind.
This is it. And the public opinion has shifted amongst legal migrants, which is one of the more fascinating polling numbers showing that the majority of legal migrants back these immigration policies. Now to an issue that is causing great debate amongst the right. The Justice Department and the FBI have concluded they have no evidence that convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was murdered or that he had a client list. They have released video that, if you ask me, raises more questions than it answers. The video is missing a full minute kosher. And frankly, few people are buying the claim that there were no powerful men who were benefiting from Epstein's activities.
This one, I think, is surprising a lot of people. I like Pam Bondi, so it's not to point the finger at her, but she hasn't helped in this, where, she came out on camera a month ago and did this whole thing with right-leaning influencers were invited to the White House and they were given these binders, which was stuff we all knew. And then she says, no, I'm just reviewing other documents that are coming out. And they haven't. And even people
she said she had the list on her desk at one point.
Right. So she's on camera saying this. And then this is very anticlimactic. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, these are figures that are very popular on the right. They're all backing this up. So in a void of information, which is what it is, it will lead to conspiracy theories, which may have truth to them, may not have truth to them, but it's all out there now in the zeitgeist where people just don't believe that any of these things are true, and there's all sorts of things swirling, and we'll see if this is corrected, if Trump can do anything with it.
We know powerful men were on that so-called Lolita Express. We know a number of them made repeated trips. We know Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, why is Maxwell in prison if there is no client list? Who was she trafficking these girls to? Because she's in prison for trafficking.
Right.
There are so many questions, and the missing minute out of this video, no clear explanation on why that is the case. And there was so much time for people within the FBI or the Justice Department to destroy evidence. And I think, again, that gives weight to people who've got conspiracy theories about what really happened.
Yep. Have they destroyed evidence? Is there incompetence where some other agency maybe has the evidence? Who knows? Is it that the people on this alleged list are so powerful globally that they really do wield a lot of pressure, and that pressure somehow has been brought to bear? Maybe some of the good guys have skeletons in their closet that they're being threatened will come out if they do this. Who knows? We can come up with things, but this is not helpful because a lot of people had a lot of hope on transparency and declassification in this administration, and it is better than past administrations, but this is a big one, and it stinks to high heavens.
Absolutely. I don't think that can close the case yet. Now, to an issue that we love talking about because we miss Kamala Harris. She gave us a lot of content, and apparently there's a new book that reveals she used profanity to convince dubious Democrat governors to stand with Joe Biden after that infamous debate performance against Donald Trump. She reportedly said, "This is about saving our effing democracy." And the comment is revealed in an upcoming book on how Trump retook the White House and the Democrats lost America. Kosha, it seems Kamala's blue talk there worked because right after the meeting, New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz appeared in the White House driveway and they voiced their full support for the ailing president. Fascinating period in American history.
We do miss her, and maybe she did fall out of that coconut tree. She kept talking about her mother saying something along those lines. I find it hard to believe that her blue talk is the reason why those two lined up afterwards. It's probably because they're all about self-preservation and political expediency, and at that point in time, they probably thought the ship hasn't sailed yet. Maybe Lady Macbeth, as Jill Biden was referred to by many people, played a hand. Who knows what it was, but that was probably the reason. And then as the tide turned and people were throwing Joe Biden under the bus when it was just impossible to ignore, very quickly they and others shifted the side over to whatever they had to back at that point.
And you do wonder whether Tim Walz was rewarded. I mean, there was a few reasons why she selected him, all of them bad, it turned out, but maybe this was part of it because, he fell into line very quickly. Now, Donald Trump has published letters to 14 nations with tariff deals. Japan and South Korea will have a tariff rate of 25% applied. Other nations will face higher tariff rates from August 1. These include Thailand and Cambodia with 36%, Serbia and Bangladesh 35%, Indonesia 32%, South Africa 30%, and Tunisia, Kazakhstan and Malaysia 25%. But Kosha, what we want to know is, when will we know here in Australia what our long-term deal is? We're a close ally, and so far there's been no meeting with our Prime Minister and no long-term trade deal negotiated.
It sounds like our Prime Minister is being definitely very reactive rather than proactive here. And so the default, most likely scenario, I think, will be the 10% baseline tariff will stand. Australia is not at risk for reciprocal tariffs because it's one of the few countries that has a trade surplus with the U.S. So that's what all those numbers that you just went through are about, because those countries we have huge trade deficits with. Steel and aluminum, supposedly a 50% tariff is on the table. That's what Trump wants to do because that sector, those two sectors in particular, are very important to him, and he really wants to revive them. It's his voting base. Last time around, Australia had a carve out for that, and it doesn't seem like that's on the table for now, at least for this one. So I think that's kind of where we're headed in terms of the impact. I think the U.S. is maybe 5 to 7% of exports of Australia, so it's not a huge thing directly, and that's probably why Albanese is kind of playing, reactionary rather than proactive.
Could we be getting, despite the fact that we're one of the very few countries with a trade surplus, could we be getting a less than ideal deal because of our government's reluctance to increase defence spending? We saw at NATO, Trump said that Spain was the only country that did not increase spending, and they were going to get a tariff deal that they did not like. They were going to pay one way or another, and I wonder whether that's in the thinking at all for the Trump administration when they come to a final figure for Australia.
I think it's a good point, because in general, that's another one of Trump's planks, that if the U.S. is underwriting security for the rest of the world, we want to get paid for it, so that Australia kind of falls within that. The other one he keeps pointing to is beef, where there's stricter standards. It's not direct tariffs, but the biosecurity laws over here make it very difficult for the U.S. to export beef. And so there's a few sort of pet peeve issues that the Trump administration has. And if they can't negotiate, I think the default will be along the lines of what I just said.
And just finally, we know the Prime Minister is meeting with Xi again. Is that a signal to the US that we are cozying up to China perhaps, and we don't see China as a threat as perhaps the US does?
I think because Australia is in a unique position given its relationship with the US and with China, where it's the largest trading partner. And even if Australia won't be a direct beneficiary or won't be hit as directly because the U.S. is a small part of the exports, it will be indirectly because as the U.S. goes to trade war with China, China's the biggest importer of Australian goods. There will be ripple effects around that. And I'm guessing that that's part of what is in this meeting of signaling, this is a very important trade partner to us, and Australia is going to strengthen that as a way to somehow kind of shift the power dynamic between the U.S.
Welcome back. Joining me now is comedian and host of Prime Time with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, I've played footage tonight of some truly reprehensible characters saying reprehensible things about the deaths of more than 100 Texans, including dozens of children after flash flooding. We've seen a sick eagerness to weaponise this tragedy to attack Donald Trump, but also a cruel, callous disregard for human life because that human life happened to be mainly white.
We're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls.
Now that's Sade Perkins. Alex, are you shocked that even a tragedy like this, a natural disaster, is fair game for these race baiters?
I cannot believe it. I mean, honestly, I am here in Dallas, Texas, and Janie Hunt, a 9-year-old who tragically passed away in the flooding, her father and I went to school together at Highland Park, and she actually still lives in Highland Park and, would be going to the same school that I would be going to. And it's just absolutely sick to see a young 9-year-old girl die like this and, the pain that it's caused and the hurt that, their family is going through, and to say that it's some sort of racial thing and that shouldn't be helped because they're white. Like, that's how sick and twisted some people are. And I mean, the victimhood mentality that a person like that could have by them claiming to be a victim, basically, when these tragic children all passed away in a horrific, matter. It's not funny. It's sick. And I'm absolutely shocked. This is a bipartisan thing. Nobody wants children to die. And it has nothing to do with race. It's absolutely terrible.
It's a natural disaster. We've got footage here showing just how quickly this flood washed out the road. It took just 4 minutes for that massive body of water to move in, and I guess that's why the warnings about this flood did not result in more lives being saved, because the water just moved so quickly. And I've got to say, Alex, particularly upsetting has been this from a pediatrician, Dr. Christina B. Probst, who's now been fired for suggesting that more than 100 dead, including children, were President Trump supporters, and so they got what they voted for. Again, Alex, a pediatrician in Houston, Texas, for them to post this so boldly, it just shows you how divorced from reality, divorced from decency, some have become.
No, it's incredibly callous. And this camp had been there it's going on its 100th year. It's had 99 camp sessions, I believe. And so this is unpredictable. They knew, the National Weather Service gave them warning, but there is no warning to know that in 90 minutes there's going to be, 12 feet of water immediately. So this is just a natural disaster that is absolutely horrible. But for people to blame it on Trump because they want to try to, use this political theater to get their point across, they're absolutely sick. And I'm actually not surprised that it's a doctor, because that doctor is mad, and they probably see a lot of loss of life, so they're desensitized to this, sadly. And it's just really tragic. I can't look at it without getting emotional, and I'm not the type of person to get really emotional, but just innocent kids like this, a natural disaster at a camp that's been there nearly 100 years. Nobody could have predicted this. And, like I said, I'm friends with the family. They would never put their kids in harm's way whatsoever. And this was not a dangerous place, just a horrible, 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 tragic event.
Yeah. Now to something we were told never happens. 15 people have been arrested in Texas, Alex, for a vote harvesting operation.
15 people, including a former Texas House candidate and other officials, have been charged in a state-led vote harvesting investigation. It's our top story this evening. According to KSAT, 7 suspects turned themselves into the Frio County Jail yesterday. They include Juan Manuel Medina, the former Bexar County Democratic Party chair and former San Antonio mayoral candidate, Petra Divina Trevino, the former mayor of Pearsall, Mary Ann Obregon, the former mayor of Dilley, among others. Also charged, former Texas House candidate Cecilia Castellano. They are all accused of vote harvesting to varying degrees.
Few Democrats there, Alex, so I haven't seen much national coverage. May have been different if they were Republicans, but it's a significant story nevertheless. What else can you tell me?
Very significant. And the left will tell you that no illegal immigrant has ever voted. Obviously, that's a lie. And when it comes to ballot harvesting, you know, we can go back to the 2020 election and say what you will about the results. When it came to in-person voting, Donald Trump won all 50 states. When it came to mail-in ballots, Joe Biden won all 50 states, even the most conservative ones. So because of this harvesting, because of the ability in some states where it's legal to actually pick up people's votes and go and turn them in, other states, it was totally legal to do this. So, you know, these people getting caught in Texas, I'm not surprised. I think the 2020 election was a big indication that this is happening, you know, rampantly across the country.
Alex Stein, thank you so much for your time tonight.